During week 208 of Brada's Branded Thoughts, a review of Iowa's 2023 class. Kids who are expected to sign here in a few days. Talk about position needs, and of course, a couple of transfers who are going to be hopping on as well. Plus, an exclusive interview with Iowa football 2023 commit Dayton Howard, a 6'5" wide receiver from the Kansas City area whose story fascinates me. And if you like kids who are flying under the radar at Iowa, you're going to love Dayton Howard. A lot to prove and a kid who's motivated to be great. All that coming up during week 208 of Brada's Branded Thoughts. This is from the Hawkeye of the Storm.
You may have heard of the real-life Hawkeye man cave known as Kinnick Under the Kitchen. Well, after lots of hard work, there's not much space left to paint, but the walls are exploding out for public consumption. Under the Kitchen is proud to announce that you can now purchase exclusive prints of some of your favorite Hawkeye legends, including wrestling great Spencer Lee, football players Arlen Bruce, Riley Moss, and Tavian Banks, plus an all-in-one Murray family legacy print featuring Keegan, Chris, and Kenyon Murray himself. Signed and unsigned prints are available, making the perfect collectible or gift for any Hawkeye enthusiast. For more information on purchasing one of these outstanding Hawkeye prints, visit Under the Kitchen on Facebook. That's Under the Kitchen on Facebook.
Week 208 of Brada's Branded Thoughts here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. First of all, thank you for being here. It's a pleasure to be able to talk Hawkeye football, Hawkeye basketball, Hawkeye women's basketball with you all year round. Please go ahead and hit the thumbs up, hit that like button, and of course, subscribe to the channel here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. All the content here is free. So again, stick it right here and definitely subscribe. Turn notifications on, hit that little bell. That will help you get the latest Hawkeye news, Hawkeye information, Hawkeye content right here on YouTube. And of course, you can check us out on your favorite podcast platforms. So what we're going to do today, folks, is we're going to look at this 2023 class. Now, we're not going to look at it inside and out. We're not going to break down every single player inside and out. We're going to have a live show next Wednesday throughout the afternoon from 1 to 5 p.m. on Wednesday, December 21st. That's signing day. We're going to be live taking calls, taking chats, talking to some of these prospects live on the air all afternoon. Going to be a fun show. So we'll have plenty of time to break down this class. What I wanted to do today is kind of talk about the structure of this class. Some needs here as we head into the final few days before we hit that early signing period. And of course, Iowa can still get transfers and guys after Wednesday, but really Wednesday has become the de facto signing day, even though signing day is technically in February. This is the beginning of the early signing period. So we're going to call it signing day. Let's start at wide receiver. We all know the needs that Iowa has at receiver, and Iowa better be thankful they have Alex Mota, receiver from Marion, who is considered a speedster, played a lot of quarterback in high school, is a guy who can take the top off of defense, and they need somebody who can do that. His development will be of extreme importance. Alex Mota at 6'1", 175 from Marion will be a big part of what Iowa wants to do at that position. Jarriett Bowie and Dayton Howard, we're going to have a conversation with Dayton Howard here in a few minutes. Both of these guys were late additions. Iowa needed them. And, they're going to be flying under the radar. Bowie had some decent offers. Dayton Howard, extremely intriguing prospect and kind of a fascinating recruitment. We're going to talk to him again in just a couple of minutes. But they need depth, and you got to be thankful that they were able to pad those wide receiver numbers in this class and get those numbers up to 3. And they're hitting the portal hard. Seth Anderson is on campus as I record this. He's with Iowa right now at practice as I record this podcast. I expect a decision from him before Wednesday. I expect a decision from him possibly Monday or Tuesday. At the latest, I would be surprised if we don't hear from Seth Anderson by then. Isaac Teslaw continues to roll on the offers. Kid from Hillsdale College, Division II school. He's rolling in some high major offers as well. So they've done some work at receiver, and they needed to do some work at receiver. Keep in mind they lost Arlen Bruce. I mean, he certainly hasn't committed anywhere yet, but we assume he's leaving. Keegan Johnson has committed to Kansas State. How about tight end? Tight end was a concern in this class, at least from a depth perspective. Certainly Iowa got a big fish in the portal by way of Eric All from Michigan. He's got 2 years. He'll probably try to jump to the league after 1 year would be my guess. A year playing with his old friend, his old buddy, Cade McNamara. Zach Ortworth is a kid who will sign on Wednesday. 6'4", 220-pound kid from St. Louis in Iowa. Missed on a couple tight ends, including a legacy tight end in Mac Markway earlier in the cycle. So Zach Ortworth was a kid they needed to grab. And you just have confidence in even Brian Ferentz and then the staff developing tight ends. They do it every year. Sam Laporta going to be drafted here in a few months. So Ortworth certainly in line. But he'll have to wait his turn because some good tight ends ahead of him, including Lachey, Ostringa, Stylianos has got a year, and, of course, Eric All. We know quarterback Marco Lainez. We had him on the show before. He is a dynamic guy. Reminds me a little bit of Brad Banks. I know it's going to make people sweat, start to make people nervous when I bring up comparisons like that. He's got a lot to prove, but boy, a lot of potential in this kid. He is a guy who understands how to move outside the pocket, make throws on the run, lower his pads, get skinny when he basically becomes a running back. Excited to see what the Hunt School product will do at Iowa. And again, we'll see if he's able to enroll early. I know it's been reported that he's not enrolling early, but don't think that's a done deal just yet. Do I expect him to enroll early? Probably not, given where he attends prep school, but don't know that that door's been closed. That's all I can say at this point. Offensive line, of course, the biggest fish in this class is Caden Proctor, the five-star tackle from Des Moines. Yes, I know he's on a visit right now to Alabama. Oregon's still coming in hard after him. Colorado's been pushing for him. He's not going to Colorado, folks. I can tell you that right now for a certainty. He's not going to Colorado. He is committed to Iowa. I still think he's coming to Iowa. From everything I've been told, I have reason to believe he will be signing on Wednesday. But Bama and Oregon are not stopping in their pursuit of Caden Proctor. The best thing I can say to Caden Proctor, enjoy the spotlight. Enjoy being treated like a king here for a few days. And you just hope he's locked in. I think he is. I think you're going to see Caden Proctor sign with the Hawkeyes on Wednesday. Trevor Lauk, four-star kid from Indianapolis. Boy, another great prize out of this class. A kid who is listed at 6'6", 285, likely ends up seeing the field at tackle. But Iowa recruiting bigger guys now along that offensive line, which I think is probably a good thing. You look at some of the best lines out there, Wisconsin, Minnesota being a couple of examples. They've got bigger products, even though they traditionally run more gap stuff than Iowa does. But Trevor Lauk will be a really good addition to this class. Cade Piper was a late add. We'll be talking about him in a day or two also on this channel. He committed during the course of the season this year for Iowa. Offensive tackle Cannon Leonard from Gilman, Illinois. His brother plays for Brett Bielema and the Illini. Leonard, 6'9". 6'9", projected as an offensive tackle. I don't know what else you do with a kid that size. The size is intriguing. Does it make me a little bit nervous? Sure. But they got him, and we'll see what they do with him. Big, big kid. How much girth do they pack on this guy who's listed currently at just 265 pounds? Iowa had a big fish in the portal at running back, Kendrick Raphael, in the midst of Iowa's struggles offensively, decommitted. Now, how much of that decision was because of other schools pressuring him? How much of it was because of Iowa's lackluster performance on offense? Was it partially because of Caleb Johnson's emergence? That's possible as well. Regardless, he was a four-star kid from Florida that they really liked, that I really liked. And so they had to go back into the cycle and look at a kid, Kamari Moulton, who they were able to get to commit. He's a smaller kid at 5'9", 180. He's got a lot to prove. But again, another Florida kid, give Liddell Betts credit. He has done well with this group since he took over. Give him credit for identifying guys like Raphael, Caleb Johnson, Jazian Patterson. You got to have trust that he's identified one here in Kamari Moulton. Arnold Barnes is a kid who is committed to Nebraska, recently decommitted. I was told last week that we were expected to hear something by the weekend. We got through the weekend, have heard nothing. It's been crickets since then. So does the offer still stand with Iowa? As of last week, it still stood. I can tell you that on good authority. But we'll just have to wait and see. And maybe he ends up going someplace else. Maybe Iowa takes him. Maybe he commits on signing day. We'll just have to wait and see. Don't have a great feeling about Arnold Barnes given the crickets. We'll just have to wait and see on that one. They do have Kamari Moulton committed, and he'll sign on Wednesday. One guy I don't want to forget, future center Leighton Jones. He's projected on the inside along Iowa's offensive line. Had him on the show as well. Another kid from Indiana, 6'4", 275. It will be intriguing to see if Logan Jones develops, because if that L. Jones doesn't develop at center, another L. Jones may come in and vie for some playing time in the first couple of years of his time in Iowa City. Leighton Jones, good head on that kid's shoulders, and he'll have an opportunity to work hard and become Iowa's future center. Looking at the other side of the football on defense, certainly Iowa's got some athletes. I mean, Kenneth Merriweather's a kid who excelled as a wide receiver up at Martin Luther King in Detroit, Michigan. He'll have a chance. He's probably going to have to get a little bit bigger at 6'3", 235, but Iowa's had success with guys who are somewhat undersized. He's a really good athlete. He'll be a better athlete than they're used to having at that size along that defensive line. Could he be a bit of a hybrid pass rusher? That's possible, but they like him a lot. Got him to commit back in July. Chase Brackney, bigger kid from Cherry Creek. Will he end up being inside or outside? By the way, Cherry Creek, the same school Alex Padilla played at during high school. So Brackney will have an opportunity with his size to make an impact early. Will that be inside or outside? We'll just have to wait and see. Maddox Borcherding Johnson's been committed since 2021. Kid from Norwalk, a big Hawkeye kid, had him on the show as well. His brother's a pretty good football player as well. But Borcherding Johnson, your prototypical D tackle, he kind of reminds me more of like a Noah Shannon or perhaps a Cedric Lattimore at 6'3", 270. Again, all these guys on the defensive line will have an opportunity to earn some playing time as underclassmen because Iowa likes to go 8 or 9 deep along that defensive line. So we'll see. Ontario Thompson, had him on the show just a couple weeks ago. He's a JUCO prospect who just won a national championship at Iowa Western. And folks, he is ready to shine. I believe he ran a 4.6 at 6'3", 300 pounds. Ontario Thompson, the real deal, originally from Dubuque Hempstead. Zach Lutmer, Aiden Hall, two guys who have opportunities as potential DBs at Iowa. Does one of these guys pack on some pounds and become like a Seth Benson at linebacker? Again, we'll see. They're listed as athletes right now. Aiden Hall from a very football-rich community over in Harlan, Iowa. Zach Lutmer from Rock Rapids, Iowa. Will be interesting to see how they develop. Also, John Nestor, considered, I believe, to be a DB. He's a safety in my mind. I don't see him playing anywhere else. He's listed at 6'1", 185 from Marist in Chicago. Khalil Tate's another one, picked Iowa over Wisconsin from Kenwood Academy in Chicago. He is an athletic kid, can lay a punch, and he's got some size, kind of like a Kayvon Merriweather as it relates to size at 6'2", 185. He'll have an opportunity with some attrition at safety, Reggie Bracey being one, Kayvon Merriweather being another. He'll have an opportunity to compete. He's obviously got some guys in front of him, though. Quinn Schulte, Xavier Wampa. Let's not forget about Conan Tringer from last year's class. But Phil Parker, not afraid to use young guys at DB, specifically at corner. But here's a kid who has got some physical traits that you cannot teach. So that's always a positive as well. How about Ben Keeter, a linebacker from Iowa City, who is literally one of the best wrestlers to ever compete at Iowa City High. He is going to be special. Now, as it relates to his future at Iowa as a football player at 6'3", 220 pounds, it will be intriguing to see how early they can get him on the field. We talk about great athletes. Ben Keeter is right there with any of them. He's a guy that few people are talking about. He's been committed since September of 21. Maybe not your flashiest guy, but just look at his wrestling pedigree. He just won a junior freestyle world championship at, I believe, 213 pounds. So he's special. And, of course, Iowa's done great things with guys who are wrestlers. Tyler Linderbaum being a guy I always bring up because it's a great example. Tristan Wirfs being another. Ben Keeter will be an interesting one once he gets he's already in Iowa City, right? Once he gets on campus here next year. And that just about does it. Iowa is in on an athlete who had been previously committed to Purdue. I think he projects more as a running back. We'll see how his recruitment proceeds. There are guys who could decommit late or flip. Again, we'll have to wait and see. I don't know of any names specifically offhand that I anticipate will flip on Wednesday, but it is certainly possible, and they are going after guys in the portal. I mentioned Seth Anderson, Charleston Southern, Isaac Tesla at Hillsdale College, Division II college, and they're not done. They will go after more guys. They lost a running back to Iowa State, kid from Stanford who's a 4-star. We're about a quarter of the way through this opening of the portal window, if you will. And so there's going to be more movement. As I mentioned earlier, wide receiver Dayton Howard is joining the show in just moments. Stay tuned right here, folks. From the Hawkeye of the Storm, you're watching week 208 of Brada's Branded Thoughts. We'll be right back with Iowa 2023 commit Dayton Howard.
Hawkeye fans, let's talk about health and performance optimization for a moment. Our sponsor, Ascent Nutrition, offers amazing products. It's actually owned by former Iowa graduate Lance Shuttler. Now, I've decided to partner with Ascent Nutrition because of their unique approach to human health. Ascent offers an organically grown, mold and mycotoxin-free coffee. It provides a pure, clean, and rich flavor without those pesticides that most coffees are treated with. They also offer an algae oil DHA, which is used to support brain health, memory, and focus, as well as proper nervous system development in adults, children, athletes, and even pets. Now, lastly, their unique crafted wild pine pollen is used to support cardiovascular health, hormonal function, and a healthy libido. Your purchase not only supports this channel, but the business of a former Hawkeye. Visit goascentnutrition.com or click the link in the description below and use the code Hawkeyes. That's the code Hawkeyes to receive 15% off your total order from Ascent Nutrition. Pleased to be joined now by Iowa 2023 wide receiver commit, Dayton Howard. And Dayton, appreciate you taking the time to join the show today, and your story is fascinating. We're going to get to some of your intangibles and just your recruitment. So unique and a dream come true for you. So first of all, congratulations on your recent
Thank you.
to Iowa.
Thank you.
Can you talk a little bit for our listeners who aren't familiar with you, because you really talk about flying under the radar.
Yeah,
you really flew under the radar on the national scale, but even regional scale, you're a Midwest kid. Talk about how you ended up at Iowa. What drew you to Iowa besides the fact that your options may have been limited? What have you liked about Iowa so far in your recruitment?
What really stood out to me when I first got there was just the culture. Like, you can just feel it, the vibes of the fan base and everything. And the coaches, like, they really like treat you. It's like really personable when I got there. Right when I walked in, met Dallas Clark, recruiting coordinator, showed me around, told me everything about it, really. And like off the bat, like, it was already going to be one of my top options. And the facilities are like great. It's like outstanding facilities, and the food there is really good too. They told me they spent like, I'm not sure how, like, a lot of money on food, which is like really a big deal to me, just because gaining weight and stuff. And then Coach Copeland, really great guy. He's the one that was recruiting me. Plus Tyler Barnes, the recruiting coordinator. He's a great guy, and that's really what meant a lot to me, is because they only knew about me for like a week, because they offered me the week they found out about me. Wow. Like all these other schools, like they kind of know about me over the summer a little bit, just from going to camps and stuff. And my high school coach, kind of trying to get my name out there before the season started. They all kind of knew about me a little bit, but never really pulled the trigger on an offer. But then just when Iowa texted me out of the blue, they offered me that same day and gave me a game day invite. Then kind of looked over my film more, I guess, and then wanted me to do a photo shoot, which is, you don't really do a regular game day visit. So I kind of suspected something, but I wasn't really expecting a full scholarship offer. But that just shows you that I mean something to them, which, like, if, like, as much as you want me, I want you, pretty much. Like, that's kind of how it was. So,
and to give people a background, they were offered you after the Wisconsin game, correct?
Yeah. Or, it was right before the Wisconsin game. Yeah.
So was it like, getting the offer and then walking out to a sold out Kinnick, just being a part of that experience? What was that like?
It was like, I couldn't even explain it. It was like, it was kind of just the flashbacks of all the hard work I'd put in with my dad in the backyard, and just grinding out every day for summers. And just pretty much what went through my mind was like, everything I did was for that moment right there. Just looking at the stadium, the players walking out, is really a dream come true.
Well, we're so happy for you, Dayton. And I want to kind of backtrack again prior to that crucial day, which is November, which you'll remember forever, right? November 12th, 2022.
100%.
Let's talk about your background. So obviously you kind of grew up in Savannah, right? Which is a small town in Missouri, correct?
Yeah.
You end up transferring high schools to Park Hill.
Yeah.
Can you kind of give, without going into vast detail, can you kind of give our listeners, our watchers, a kind of a feel for what caused you to transfer, and just a timeline throughout high school and how you've developed into the athlete you are today?
Yeah. So I grew up in Savannah with my mom. My dad always lived in Kansas City. But my mom grew up in Savannah, and I grew up there too. It's kind of just where we lived the whole time, and it was cool. And then when we got to high school, that's when I started taking football more seriously, and that's when I really decided how much I love football and how much I want to take it to the next level. And then freshman year, I only played JV, and freshman team, nothing really major. And then sophomore year is when it really hit me that I want to go somewhere. And that's when I first started varsity for Savannah on both sides of the ball. And then sophomore year was okay. I mean, not really too much action, but I was just thinking, it's okay. I'm only a sophomore. I still got 2 more years left, to show what I really got. And then junior year is when I, decided I really need to make a change, because I ended junior year with 126 receiving yards and 13 catches. And I knew that, I made a few good plays here and there, but I only had two minutes of film that season, only 2 minutes of film. And it was kind of hard posting it, because I was just doubtful that it was going to get any attention from high level colleges to where I know I'm capable of going. But I just kept working, and then just, praying to the Lord every single night, just to lead me in the right path. And then, I talked with my dad. He's like, just come down here, Kansas City, obviously a big city, and 6A football. Because Savannah was only 2A. Going to 6A football. That's when I made the decision, to just transfer. And because, I wasn't going to get looked at Savannah. With it being a small school on top of not really getting many targets at all. So transferred to Park Hill, and, met Coach Sims, which is the Park Hill High School coach. I already knew it was going to work out for me, meeting him and how he is with his connections and college coaches and stuff. So just grinded out all summer, getting ready for 6A football. I've had a bunch of doubters, but that doesn't mean anything to me. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. It was what caused me to transfer. So,
talk about Coach Sims a little bit more. You talk about his connections, but he and that entire staff of, obviously, certainly time and place and situation and setting, all of that has, a lot as far as your production, right? Or maybe lack thereof at Savannah. We're not knocking anybody back there, but those all were factors. And now you go into a situation, you're competing at a higher level, as you said, you're getting more exposure, but you're getting coaching that you sounded like you really needed.
Yes, 100%.
Can you talk specifically about what changes were made as far as your development once you got to Park Hill?
So it started when, because I transferred in January, I met him through the winter and stuff. Kind of gave me a rundown of, what Park Hill is about and what their work ethic is. And then summer starts, when summer workouts, just training every day. And he loves to pass the ball, which is, a receiver's dream, obviously. So I knew I knew what I was capable of. So I worked with KB every day, Kendrick, my quarterback, over the summer. We built a strong connection. And then really just working every day, and then getting to know the playbook right off the bat, because that was this past year was only a second year there, and but the whole coaching staff really just grind you. You have no choice but to be a better athlete than what you were before the summer started, and really just the whole summer kind of set me up for the season, just to have a great season. And Coach Sims, a great guy. On and off the field, he knows what he's doing. And we went 3-8, but we averaged 40 points a game. But it was really just kind of our defense that lacked a little bit. But yeah, and then I ended up being second in the state for touchdowns, which was 13. And then yeah, that was kind of
at the 6A level.
Yeah, 6A level. Yeah. Just so going from 2A to 6A, just kind of sparked.
That's awesome. And so I want to talk about other schools involved in your recruitment. And I don't bring this up to, berate you for not having a bunch of other interest, but it is intriguing. You even mentioned this before we started this interview, that it is, kind of strange, but also fascinating. The fact that you told me that you had no other offers. We're not just talking, you didn't have any other offers, and we're not just talking Division I offers. Talk about your recruitment. I know that if you go to your recruiting page on 247 Sports or on Rivals, it says that you had interest from Kansas State and Iowa State. I think I saw maybe Colorado State somewhere there.
Yeah,
maybe
they texted me. Yeah.
So, but I mean, how extensive was that interest from those other schools?
Well, I mean, they kind of knew Iowa State knew about me. They're really the first Power 5 or like D1 college that kind of knew about me just from their wide receiver coach having connections with Sims. I went to their camp over the summer. I mean, they said they liked me, but they said, we'll keep an eye on you, throughout the season. And they never pulled the trigger. Then middle of the season, K-State, hopped on my recruitment, invited me to a game. They said they liked me, but then never heard from them after the game day visit. And those are the only 2 visits that I went on over the fall. And that was really it. I mean, no other schools really contacted me at that time. It was really until when Iowa texted me is when Colorado State texted me too. But those are really the only schools that I heard from. And then I think Missouri Southern was the only D2 school that I heard of, I think. And then SEMO texted me a little bit too, but that was like just about something. But really nothing, no other offers or anything. And that's what made me choose Iowa, is because they want me just as, a lot. And I could tell just from walking in their facilities and how they treated me. And that's what made me choose them. So, but I only needed one offer, just one opportunity to, show what I got. So,
and I find that fascinating too, because I mean, we're asking you why Iowa. I think a better question on signing day for Kirk Ferentz is why Dayton Howard. And I'm going to be very fascinated once you sign to ask him that question, to actually get an answer from him. What, from your perspective, what did they see in your game? Obviously, you have a unique skill set. You're 6'5". You're a bigger guy playing receiver. You obviously put up impressive numbers at a high level in a big metropolis. But talk about what Iowa saw in you.
What they saw in me, I feel like, is a unique 6'5" guy, and not really, I don't feel like many 6'5" guys can move the way I do. And just it goes into, the work that I put in and everything. And I feel like I move not like a shorter guy, I guess is what you call it. Like, I don't feel like I move like a gangly tight end, just slower guy. Cause I mean, I run a 4.5 40, which is, it's not crazy fast, but it's, it's doable for 6'5", So I just feel like that's what they really saw in me and my catching ability, being able to go a high point of ball, using my height to an advantage. So
4.5 is that's not too bad at all for a guy who's 6'5". So that was my next question, Dayton. So you and I talked again prior to this interview, but the big question that's going to come up, especially with people outside the program, is this kid really a wide receiver? So I'd like to know from your perspective, do you foresee yourself at receiver? Do you foresee yourself at tight end? And what conversations have been had between yourself and Iowa?
Me personally, I mean, I see myself a receiver 100%, but like I said earlier, like wherever they need me to win the game is where I'll play, no matter where it is, tight end, receiver, anything. But just from, I know what I'm capable of. I know I can play receiver, and I know I'll get faster just from the work I'll put in, in the off season. But yeah.
Now, one thing that I always like to ask, especially skill position players, but it applies everywhere. Other sports, as far as background, obviously multi-sport athletes, they're known to be attractive to schools like Iowa. What do you think basketball and baseball, those are two sports that you have been involved with at the high school level. What do you take from those two sports that helps you in the football field?
Basketball, jumping, 100%. Pretty obvious answer there. I mean, you're constantly jumping in basketball and like really using it to your advantage, and that translates straight to the football field, going up to get a ball, and especially being 6'5", you like have like an 80% chance. I don't know what it is, but 80% chance to like win it over those shorter corners, because I mean you don't see too many tall corners out there. So that's the jumping ability in basketball for sure. And then baseball as a hand-eye coordination is what really helped me, I believe, because I've been playing these sports since I was 3 years old, and growing up in a baseball family, I really got the gist of, getting the bat on the ball, seeing the ball for years, coming on the bat, and then I was an outfielder, so just watching it in the glove every single time. But hand-eye coordination helped me with football and baseball, those tying together. So
one thing that we understand, we're in the midst of a very, very busy time here in December, especially the transfer portal at the college level. I mean, it's as active as ever, and Iowa has experienced some attrition at wide receiver. And the position group was not real deep prior to that, as you know, Dayton. But now you got guys entering the portal, could come back, could leave. Yeah. One guy who's been steady Eddie throughout all this is Brody Brecht. And, of course, you probably know Brody. He's, a pitcher at Iowa, and he's a bigger receiver. So I could see you two perhaps hitting it off once you get in that, be a part of that room. What do you like about Coach Copeland? Excuse me. I know you have been recruited by him, and just how Iowa runs things.
I mean, obviously, they're not known to be, the passing team or whatever. But I mean, that could just be, the depth in the room, maybe not having the best receivers in there, and or just really anything. But from what I see is, Copeland, he knows what he's talking about, and, he's a good guy, and what he talked about me, like how things work at Iowa with like work ethic and everything, like, they really know how to get after it. But, I feel like getting more depth at the receiver position and, will obviously help them.
And so let's talk strengths and weaknesses. You're obviously one of your big strengths, I would have to think, is you would be an obvious red zone target. Like talk about your jumping ability, your height. You're obviously not slow, so it's not like you can't beat a guy over the top, I'm sure. Yeah. But you're going to win some one-on-one battles purely because of size. But talk about your strengths on the football field, maybe what makes you unique other than just the physical difference that you provide being 6'5".
Strengths really just, like I said earlier, high pointing a ball. I mean, I feel like if it's a 50-50 ball, like I'm up there, like I will win that battle, especially if it's a smaller corner and red zone, throw it up, I'll go up and get it because, I can jump on top of being 6'5". And another strength is like I said earlier, I feel like I move differently, and my routes are a lot more crisp than most other 6'5" dudes, I guess you can say. And because I've worked on that for like years, just watching NFL players and videos and stuff, just working on how many steps or like head and shoulder fakes, selling your eyes, like you can go into detail about all that. That's really what I think my strengths are, is high pointing a ball and my route understanding and understanding how to create space.
And as far as things you want to improve on, I know you told me, I hope you don't mind me sharing this, that you're planning enrolling in the summer. Yeah. So you'll be getting to Iowa early, so you have some extra time in your high school career to get in some off-season work. And obviously once you get to Iowa, it'll be about conditioning, and then you'll hit fall camp. But what are some weaknesses that you're looking to improve upon? Let's just look in the short term in 2023.
Weaknesses is, I know I'm already, decently fast, but I want to be faster. Like I want to be like a Christian Watson, for Green Bay. He's 6'5", runs a 4.28, and I'm not saying I'm going to run a 4.28, obviously, but maybe get in the 4.4 range, just be a solid running receiver, and getting the ball in open field, being able to be more agile, making sharper cuts, and just head mobility, being able to, and field vision, just to kind of just get really better at all those things. So
talk a little bit about life after football. Everybody wants to talk about your career, and I'm sure it's your dream to play in the league. But as you know, there is life after football, which ultimately is more important than football. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, there are bigger things in life. So talk about what your interests are. What do you like to do in your free time? What's your outlook on what do you want to major in? I mean, I'm sure you've had these thoughts.
Yeah. I've always loved the marketing business, that kind of category. I've always taken high school classes about marketing and entrepreneurship, which I I was fascinated about, starting my own business or being, co-owner of something. When I was little, I would always like sketch all the like the name brand logos like Nike and Adidas and all that. Um, I love designing things. That's what I used to always do. And just kind of being an owner of a business or like a brand would always be awesome. Like I'd love to do that. But that's really the only thing. I mean, I don't really have a life outside of football. I just kind of hang out with friends and just work. But
You mentioned restaurants earlier, like you mentioned food. You're talking about Iowa
food.
serving.
Yeah.
Is the barbecue thing down in Kansas City a real thing? I mean, is it just that much better than everywhere else?
100%. Like the barbecue here is probably the best in the country. 100%.
So what's it going to be like having to leave that? I mean, you've been there a little while now, and I'm sure you visited your dad growing up, and
yeah, I mean, it's gonna be tough leaving the barbecue for sure. But I mean, it's whatever, I guess. I mean, my dad could always bring down some food when he visits. So
there you go. Maybe you can strike up an NIL deal with one of the barbecue places.
Oh yeah,
they'll cater for you.
Yeah.
I've asked this question to other recruits, Dayton. First of all, what do you think about NIL? I mean, I know you're not even in college yet, but I mean, NIL has become such a leverage tactic for the transfer portal and recruiting. But the substance of NIL is good for young people to be able to make money based on their name, image, and likeness, which is fair, and I think which is right. But just your thoughts on NIL, and do you have like a dream NIL? You don't have to give me a company, but deal or like some type of a business that you think you would represent well?
Well, I think about NIL. I mean, I think it's a great idea. I mean, being able to make money, it's kind of like a step down just from the NFL, just being able to make money while playing football, not from football, but, from advertisements and everything. But, I mean, my dream would be, maybe being an ad or something, or just partnership with like a food brand or a clothing brand, just making, it's like a side hustle almost on top of just working in football.
Last question I want to ask you, Dayton, and again, appreciate you taking the last 20 minutes to discuss your life. And I think it's just, again, fascinating, your background, and we're, of course, wishing you all the best. But everybody wants to talk about influencers in their life. And, maybe it's a famous athlete or someone who's in the national spotlight. You think about social media. We use this term influencers to talk about social media influencers. But really, a person's biggest influencers are the people they grow up with typically, right? Somebody who's a close friend or family member. Who would you say are the greatest influencers in Dayton Howard's life?
Definitely have to be my dad. Like, my dad taught me everything, how to be a man, and how to just be able to take hardships that goes on in your life and being able to just kind of keep standing when you get knocked down, and just everything like that, and all the work that has to be put in if you want to be great. And then my mom, for sure, too. Like, she's the one that, raised me most of my life. She's the one that, really taught me how to treat people and just being a great person, like, just, or helping the teammate up or helping the opponent up. And I mean, they both really just kind of taught me the real base structure of what it is to be a man. So definitely those two.
Parents are always good options to fall back on. So Dayton Howard, Iowa class of 2023 football commit, listed as a wide receiver, but you sound like you're open to whatever Iowa wants to use you as. And just congratulations, Dayton, on this opportunity. And your stories like yours, and they don't come around every day, but you are one that we will be rooting for once you get to Iowa next summer. So congratulations on your commitment, and we'll look forward to seeing you sign here in the
21st of December. 21st.
Dayton Howard, appreciate the time, sir.
Thank you.
One of the great things about being able to do what I do here from the Hawkeye of the Storm, talk to these different athletes, these different recruits, these different commits, signees, well, soon to be signees on Wednesday, is it just gives you more reason to want to root for these kids, especially a guy like Dayton Howard, who has busted his butt, got one offer, but that was the only offer he needed. And now he's got an opportunity to prove even more doubters wrong once he gets to Iowa and uses that impressive 6'5", 6'6" frame, a guy who could potentially do some serious damage in his career in the red zone in Iowa. Given their offensive struggles, specifically in the red zone last year, they could use a red zone threat. How quickly will he develop? Those are all questions we'll have to wait and see. He'll get here in the summer of 2023. Again, as I mentioned earlier, a live streaming special this Wednesday, folks, from 1 to 5 p.m. right here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. You'll want to make this part of your day. We'll have Iowa football signees checking in with us throughout the day. We'll be taking your calls, taking your chats, and breaking down Iowa's 2023 football class. Join us Wednesday from 1 to 5 p.m. right here from the Hawkeye of the Storm.